Welcome into Buff Sports Live alongside Lena Takahashi. I'm Jack Stern.
Both basketball teams tipped off the season while the football team had another ugly loss in Tucson.
Well, you know, Lena, I can't say I'm surprised. Anyway, the soccer team ended their season in disappointing fashion while Lynxman Robin Choi has gained national attention.
But we'll start with the women's basketball team that started their season last Tuesday.
That's right, Lena, we picked things up in the first quarter. Nice move down low by Alexis Robinson. She lays it in there. She finished this one with 7 points and 2 rebounds. Then later on, Kennedy Leonard looks like she's shooting from Broomfield there, but she knocks it down nonetheless. She had a game-high 33 points in this one. Then there's Leonard finding Malia Hollingshed down low, lays it home for the easy bucket. And later on in the game, in transition, that's Knessa Kayla Doe. Nice spin move inside, and the finger roll off the glass is good once again. And Buffs would go on a nice defensive run. There's Aubrey Knight with the steal. She takes it all the way to the house. And the Buffs, as you take a second look here, breaking away from 2 defenders. Nice effort there by Leonard. And then Leonard once again in transition. Who else would she go to but Kayla Doe, who once again lays it home. Look at how much strength she goes up with that ball. And then Leonard once again from the corner knocks down yet another 3. No hesitation there as she takes that shot and hits it. And then Hollingshed, and that's Peanut Tootle, the freshman, getting in on the action, scoring her first points as a Buff there. No hesitation, going up with the ball. Kayla Doe dribbling down low, splits 2 defenders to lay this one home. The Buffs would finish this one off 77-70. Here's what Vinay Simlat had to say after the game.
Colorado the winners over Northern Colorado 77-69. Northern Colorado is a good Big Sky NCAA tournament team that was led by Savannah Smith, who had 32 points today, an insane 8 for 12 from beyond the arc. We saw her pass up layups to shoot 3-pointers, and Colorado had a heck of a time trying to guard her.
Yeah, she's a great player. She moves off the ball. She's just always moving, so she's just really a tough player to guard. If you step back, you just have to have your hand up and move your feet at all times.
Colorado's leading scorers in this game were Kennedy Leonard and Knessa Kayla Doe. Leonard played almost the whole game, scoring 30 points, 1 away from her career high, and Kayla Doe had 23 points. But the real reason Colorado won this game was because of free throws. They shot 41 in this game, made 31 of them.
I feel like that's the most free throws I've ever coached. But the great thing is that we knocked down a high percentage of them. What were we?
31 for 41, I think, right?
Yeah, 31 for 41, so 76%. So I'm glad we got to the line. I'm glad we knocked down free throws.
The Buffs had big minutes, big contributions from their young players, including Aubrey Knight and Peanut Tootle, who each played 25 minutes in this game, and they had big minutes down the stretch, playing all the way through the end of the game. Coach J.R. Payne told us she was happy with how the young players played at the end. I'm Vinay Simlat for Buff Sports Live.
While the women began their regular season, the men gave us a preview of what was to come in their lone exhibition game last Saturday. James Margulis has the latest from the CU Event Center.
Here at the CU Event Center, where Colorado just defeated the Colorado School of Mines by a score of 66-57. The Buffs didn't come out as Tad Boyle wanted them to. They had 8 turnovers in the first half and allowed the School of Mines to shoot 50% from behind the arc. They would go into the locker room down 6. Coming out of the locker room, they were much more aggressive on defense, and McKinley Wright had 10 second-half points. They ended up pulling away late and managed to defeat the School of Mines by a score of 66-57. All of this was led by Tyler Bay, who recorded a double-double, totaling 16 points and 11 rebounds. Along with that, McKinley Wright had 14 points and 8 assists. I'm James Margulis. Back to you.
If Tad Boyle wasn't screaming at the event center, would it actually have been November? Boyle will get a chance to yell some more when the Buffs open the non-conference portion of their schedule on Tuesday. They'll stay at home to take on the Drake Bulldogs on Tuesday and Nebraska Omaha Mavericks on Friday. Colorado then will travel west for a tilt with the San Diego Toreros the following week. The day after Thanksgiving, the team will head to Colorado Springs to face off against Air Force.
And the team was out in Tucson for a primetime matchup last Friday night against the Arizona Wildcats, their first game in Tucson in 2 years. Let's pick things up in the second quarter with Khalil Tate game tied. He rolls to his right looking for Shun Brown in the back of the end zone, and he gets him. That was Tate's third touchdown pass of the day. He would finish the game with 5 as we look at him showing off his pocket mobility there, rolling out, creating time, and finding the open receiver. That would put the Wildcats up 24-7. They led 26-24 at the break. Then Steven Montez to a wide open Trayvon McMillan, who would run down the sidelines to tie this game up, or give the Buffs the lead, 24-23. And then later on, there's Montez going deep for Tony Brown. That would give Colorado a lead, a temporary one at that, but that was a nice catch by the senior from Texas. And then Tate looking, once again, creating time. There's Devon Cooper, who breaks away from Nick Fisher, running down the sidelines there. That would be another touchdown for the Wildcats. That would be their final score of the afternoon, and the game would end up finishing 42-34. But the Buffs would have one last attempt to tie the score up. Montez's desperation throw is intercepted in the end zone. It was intended for Tony Brown, but he was defended closely by 2 cornerbacks, as we see there on the replay. Ball a little bit underthrown, and that was the margin of victory for the Buffs on Friday.
Since the women's basketball team is playing Colorado State next Wednesday, our trivia question is, when was the last time CU lost to Colorado State in women's basketball? We'll have that answer for you later in the show. What do you think, Jack? It's
been a while since the women's team has lost to CU, but the men, it's a little bit of a different story.
Tough back losses for the men in Fort Collins and here at home, but coming up, Gourmet Vinay stops by the studio.
And we'll have an update on the soccer team's ranking in the NCAA tournament.
Tompkins, the goalkeeper for CU. Ball.
They were nervous and inexperienced, as new faces looking to achieve greatness. As the years went on, they grew confident in their abilities.
Maybe. Yes, sir!
Now they look to guide others in the same pursuit.
There it is! Can you believe it?
All are welcome to be featured on the biggest stage.
Is it his time? Yes!
We invite you to discover what you're capable of at BuffSports Live.
Welcome into Gourmet Vinay, where we're cooking up the hottest takes, and today's some candy. Now remember, if you can't make your own candy, store-bought is fine. We're talking about the football team, and they, like these Sour Patch, have gone from sweet to sour, starting out 5-0 and ending 0-4 the last 4 games.
Yeah, Vinay, to me, the first 2 losses were understandable. You're on the road against 2 good teams in USC and Washington, but then it's the last 2 that are really concerning. Oregon State at home, not a good showing. And then on the road against Arizona, they're not a bad team, but again, it was just not the same team that we saw those first 5 weeks of the season.
And it's going to have to be a different team if they're going to beat Washington State, one of the best teams in the country. And it starts with the offense. The offense has been pretty vanilla these last few games.
Yeah, Vinay, I think you're right. And if they want to be successful on Saturday, they have to pull some tricks from out of their sleeves. And to do that, they could utilize their running backs, Trayvon McMillan and Kyle Evans differently, so we can be successful.
Yeah, and part of that diversity on the field is changing things up on offense, is getting players back from injury, because those injuries have really twisted up the roster.
I agree. So right now we have Katie Nixon out with a hip injury. We have J-Mac out with his 2nd concussion. But luckily we have LaVisca Chenault joining us on Saturday, who's going to be our lifesaver. And he's coming back from a tic-tac-toe injury.
LaVisca is coming back from that tic-tac-toe injury, but he can't help the defense. Defense has laid an egg these last 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely, Vinay. You know, in these past 3 seasons that I've seen, Colorado's had a pretty glaring weakness on defense. The past 2 years, it was the defensive line, while the secondary was stronger. This year, it's a little bit of a flip-flop. The secondary has not been good enough, And to me, that falls somewhat on the coach, right? Coach Mack, he's got to be sitting on some of these right now, on the hot seat, because he is not good enough at making his players care. He's had the talent on these rosters, but he hasn't been able to do anything with it. He hasn't been able to instill that killer instinct, and that culminated against Oregon State. You know, Trayvon McMillan, a 75-yard touchdown to start off the second half to go up 28 points, homecoming, a really weak opponent in Oregon State, and you blow it. That's got to be on the coach, in my opinion.
That is quite the hot take there, Ben. But while everyone else is watching the Washington State game, the three of us are going to be sitting here stress-eating this candy, because that's the way this football season has gone for the Buffs. Guys, back to you.
They suck.
Soccer team continued their losing streak, losing at Prentup to the Utah Utes 1-0. The Utes scored a goal at the 11-minute mark during the first half, and CU did not score in the next 79 minutes, behind 19 shots on goal. Coach Danny Sanchez said the Buffs missed plenty of opportunities to win.
After 4 straight losses, the women's soccer team has fallen out of the coaches' poll rankings. It was a free fall of sorts, as they were previously ranked 15th in the nation. To make matters worse, Colorado is one of 7 Pac-12 teams to be left out of the NCAA tournament. And despite Colorado's impressive season that saw them upset several ranked opponents, they were unable to finish strong. Coach Danny Sanchez thought if Colorado won the senior day matchup against Utah, they would have been in, but no cigar for close ones. The Buffs look ahead to next year, where returning stars Taylor Korniak and Tatum Barton will lead the way.
On Saturday, the volleyball team had an epic battle against the number 2 ranked Stanford Cardinal. After falling behind 2-0, Colorado battled back with 2 consecutive set wins, both by a score of 29-27. Unfortunately, the Buffs were unable to carry the magic into the 5th set, falling by a score of 15-9.
Tonight, the team is looking to build off their strong performance against Stanford when they match up with the ASU Sun Devils. Their final home game is Sunday at noon against the 20-ranked Arizona Wildcats. With 2 more additional contests on the road, CU is looking to pick up some crucial wins and qualify for the NCAA tournament.
We just have one athlete of the week this week, just because she was so spectacular. It's Jenna Ewert from the volleyball team, who had 2 huge games against Cal and Stanford, helping push the match against Stanford to the 5th set. Ewert was recognized as the Pac-12 Freshman of the Week for her efforts in NorCal. Great job.
Big week for Ewert there. They'll need her to keep showing up if they're going to make the NCAA tournament.
That's right. We saw the volleyball team make it all the way to the Sweet 16 last year, and they hit their stride late, but maybe they'll do that again this season.
I have my fingers crossed. We've got 2 other teams hitting their stride. We'll talk about the cross country and golf teams coming up next.
Classroom at 6'1", 235 pounds, Brendan Mackey. Dude. D still sends Galen a friend request. Denied by Galen. Margol is on his way to class. Well, Stern slowly in front of him. Margol jukes, splits the defense, and he's home free.
What are you doing, dude?
Gruber, O'Brien with speed on the backhand towards the net. O'Brien scores! What a goal, Luke O'Brien! Drove wide on the backhand, towed it back to the forehand, and went.
Welcome to Rapid Fire, the fastest schedule in the West. We have a packed week coming up with 6 home games happening in the next 5 days. The first game is tonight at 7 when the volleyball team takes on the hockey team. Just kidding. The volleyball team is taking on Arizona, while the hockey team faces Utah, but both are on campus and both are at 7 p.m. The football team faces Washington State tomorrow at 1:30, something we've already talked about extensively, so let's just move on. The final home volleyball game of the season is against number 20 Arizona at noon on Sunday. This is your final chance to see your Volley Buffs in action before they head to Oregon, California, and then Utah for their final matches. The basketball teams continue their non-conference season. At the start of the week, the men's basketball team battles Drake on Tuesday for their 2nd game of the season. Drake is 1-0, winning their last match 98-52 against Buena Vista, a D3 team. The match is at 6 p.m. On Wednesday, the women's basketball team will expand their win streak with the defeat of Colorado State How do I know this? Because CSU is a joke. I predict a palindrome score of 73-37 Colorado victory. This has been Rapid Fire. I'm Mitchell Sanchez. Back to the desk.
Junior Robin Choi finished 45th in the LPGA Series tournament. Choi finished the weekend in North Carolina with a 10 under 586. She had her best score in the 6th round, recording 20 birdies and 26 bogeys. After her outstanding weekend, the Australian is eligible to leave school early and compete at the professional level next spring.
While Robin Choi got the regional headlines, the women's golf team made school history. The team tied for 3rd place in the Pac-12 preview earlier this week. Colorado's previous best finish was 4th place. The Buffs finished 2 strokes short of 1st place with an even 86.7 under par. Junior Christy Hodges moved up to 8th place from 3rd with a 3 under 70 in the final round. Hodges recorded 3 straight pars before sinking a bogey on the final hole.
And the answer to the trivia question is finally here. If you remember, we asked you, when is the last time we lost to Colorado State in women's basketball? And the answer is 2015. We lost to CSU by 1 point. The score was 63-64, but don't worry, we beat them last year and in 2016, and we're hoping that streak continues as well.
Both cross-country teams are currently out in Provo, Utah, competing in the Mountain Region Championship. The women's team is ranked 4th in the country, while the men sit at 8th. All teams in attendance are competing for a berth to the cross-country national championship in Wisconsin later this month. To this point, the cross-country teams have a combined 36 regional titles. Here's to hoping they have 38 come December. Wisconsin around Thanksgiving? I wonder if our broadcast engineer Justin will be there.
Maybe, but I think he's getting over the Brewers' loss in the playoffs and the Packers' defeat last weekend.
Yikes, those were 2 ugly losses to say the least. Yeah, it sure is tough life for him, but getting back to work with us surely has to cheer him up, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's all we have for you today. Have a nice weekend, Buffs fans. That's a great outcome.